I mean, feel like I'm going to be chasing him in strikeouts for a while. It seems like he strikes out the world. So, yeah, it's just trying to be contagious and, just do my part when I get in there. So it's easy to do when you got a guy like that going ahead of you.
Winning the West is a successful season.
Okay.
Like this team is as good as the Dodgers. They're 3 games behind the Dodgers, but they play the Dodgers 6 times. They can and should win the West, and they should look at that as the barometer for what a successful season is. Then they'll get to the playoffs, and weird things can happen in the playoffs. So I don't want to say, like, it's World Series or bust, but, like, they should be favored in a lot of these playoff series.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I am Marty Caswell. We are brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Let's get right to it. You just heard from AJ Cassavell. That was a week ago, our first conversation following a very busy trade deadline. And now here we are. It's August 12th. The Padres are 67-52, 1 game back of the Dodgers. The big tussle ahead in the National League West, which you can read about from AJ Cassavell on Padres.com. AJ, you ready to go ahead and double down on your claims that the Padres should and will win the NL West?
I don't know if will win the NL West is what I was saying. Should win is what their goal should be. Like this roster is as good as the Dodgers. They're playing much better than the Dodgers, and now the gap's only 1 game. And so for the first time in my tenure as a beat reporter on the Padres, I wake up today with the Padres having a chance to be in first place, like in the second half of the season, which is, I mean, it's been since 2010 that's been the case. 2010 in San Francisco, coincidentally, the final day of the season. Yeah, sure, I'll double down. The Padres should win the NL West with the team that they have and with the way that they're playing. I'll also double down on the fact that weird things can happen in the playoffs, but this team seems built for October. This is just a fun time if you're a Padres fan.
It's a very fun time. By the way, I forgot to mention, is that woman still screaming? Is she screaming anywhere near your hotel right now? That Padres fan from yesterday? Or are we good?
I got so many texts about that and so many messages about that. I didn't hear her. So
what?
I'll usually listen to one of the broadcasts, either TV or radio. Last night I had some music going while I was watching the game. So I didn't hear her. I don't even know if I think I listened to the radio for a couple innings and I didn't hear her when that was going on.
I'm not sure how that's.
So I was fortunate enough to have avoided that. And then by the time, the 6th or 7th inning rolled around and I had gotten 5 or 6 messages, I decided I wasn't going to wade into those waters at all.
I was almost going to text you yesterday and say, listen, please, AJ, please go either interview this woman, write a side feature on this Padres fan who I think was sitting like right by home plate. I mean, it was so loud. I actually went outside to check the streets of Pacific Beach because I thought it was coming from like my loud neighbors or something. It was chaos, but congratulations to all of you for getting through, for getting through that mess. Okay. Number 1, I want to start by saying Jackson Merrill never changed. Number 1, he's number 1. Number 2, he's hitting, but he's also candid. And he admits he sees things. He's scoreboard watching. He is paying attention. Mike Schilt will never admit he's going to be laser focused on the game ahead of him. Manny Machado pretends sometimes he doesn't know that Michael King was starting on Saturday or not sure who the opponent is. But how much are the Padres players in that clubhouse scoreboard watching what their division rival, the Dodgers, are doing every single night?
I don't think they're like you and me are, where the game's on one screen and the Padres are playing. In fact, I know that that's not the case. Like they're not. They are excited when the Dodgers lose, to the point where, like last night, we were in the clubhouse and I this is kind of an off the record thing, but we had someone asked us like, "Hey, what was the final score of the Dodgers game?" And we're like, "Oh, they lost," and the response was, "Oh, hell yeah." Like they're aware. They're keenly aware of what's going on in the race. And that's the extent, I would say, of their scoreboard watching. They're not watching the games. They're not clapping when Max Muncy strikes out. They want to know, did the Dodgers win? Did they lose? And I don't really think they're necessarily even affected if the Dodgers win or they lose, because it's August, whatever. And they know that they have 6 games coming up against the Dodgers. But the goal is to win the West. And they move a game closer. If they win and the Dodgers lose, that's precisely what happened yesterday. So they're a game closer to achieving that goal.
We can talk about how great, just the big contributions of every single bit of the Padres trade pieces from that trade deadline, including Fermin last night. But let's go ahead and start with Yu Darvish. because Yu Darvish, man, was lights out versus the Giants. His best start since returning from the injured list. What did you see from Yu Darvish last night?
He threw a lot of fastballs, and I think the most interesting thing with Darvish last night was the fact that like this was Freddie Fermin's first time catching him, and that's not at a bullpen session, not in a warm-up session or anything. Today was the first time Freddie Fermin had caught Yu Darvish, and so I know your question was about Yu Darvish, but I think we got to give Freddie Fermin a lot of credit. Like
100%.
he put the time in to learn how to catch Yu Darvish, to learn what his different pitches did. And then he went out there and managed to backstop 6 innings, 1-run ball. The only run Darvish gave up was that fastball off the outside corner that Devers hit the other way for a home run. I don't even think that's a bad pitch. I think you just kind of like sometimes Rafael Devers does that. So like an awesome game from Yu Darvish, and the fact that he's doing it like this is not. I think Dylan Cease, while his stuff is incredible, is probably a pretty easy pitcher to catch. Okay. I mean, I know you have to figure out when he wants to throw his fastball, when he wants to throw his slider. Obviously, he's got the sweeper and the sinker. They're a little bit different. Yu Darvish is another story. He's got 8 different pitches, and like you can make an argument he's got like 24 different pitches just because of the way he throws each of those pitches slightly differently. Like we just had our family wiffle ball tournament this weekend, and Yu Darvish is the closest pitcher to someone throwing a wiffle ball and like just doing different things to it each time to kind of make it do different things. For a catcher to come in and be catching him on his first time and have Darvish throw like he did, I just want to give Freddie Fermin a ton of credit. Obviously, Yu Darvish deserves as much more of the credit because of what he did, but we've seen that out of Yu Darvish before. Darvish working with Fermin that way, when I think my biggest question about acquiring a catcher in the midseason wasn't like, can Freddie Fermin be a good player? It was, can he acclimate to this pitching staff? Like that is the biggest story of Yu Darvish's start, is the way, and also the way Mason Miller pitched. Like this is a new guy working with, and the whole bullpen. They're all working with this catcher for the first time or the second time or the third time, and they've all been awesome. And I think that bodes extremely well for what this means for the stretch run.
I think that is such a huge deal. I know that when AJ Preller had his Zoom, a couple weeks ago about the trade acquisitions, and he raved and raved about Fermin and just what he heard from so many different scouts and teammates and coaches about his ability. But you think the Padres had any concern how much he would have to get caught up to speed on a completely new pitching staff? And you're mentioning, and Yu Darvish is like 5 different pitchers. It's not just one guy. He's such a vast variety of pitches to deal with.
I think they would have been crazy not to have had concern. Like this is a catcher joining a new pitching staff midseason on a team with aspirations of winning the World Series. And I think that those reports, and I heard them from people in Kansas City too, of how hard a worker Fermin is and how great of a supporter and a clubhouse guy and a pitcher first kind of catcher he is. I think that's the reason they traded for him, because there are other catchers that they could have gone after. And maybe in the offseason, you feel a little more comfortable going after, because you can acclimate them through spring training. You can acclimate them into the season. But if you're going to trade for a catcher in the middle of the season in July 31st, essentially 2 months to learn these pitchers before the postseason, and those 2 months of games are extremely important games too, because you're trying to win a division, you better be pretty confident that he can handle that. And like, I also think Elias Diaz deserves a measure of credit here. He has been working actively with Freddie Fermin. The couple, like they're countrymen, they're both from Venezuela. I think they know each other from past experiences. But like, if you don't have a catcher working with Fermin to help him along the way with these pitchers, I don't know if it goes as smoothly. It's been a really smooth acclimation for Freddie Fermin, and I don't want to say I was skeptical of what Freddie Fermin could be, but I was certainly skeptical of putting a catcher into a new pitching staff, into a new group midseason.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I had a conversation with someone last week that said the exact same thing, that of all the positions that you're going to go ahead and trade for at the deadline, trading in for a catcher, not a backup catcher, but a guy to be your starting catcher, take the bulk of the work, is literally the hardest thing to assimilate into a brand new team, a brand new pitching staff. So huge credit to him. Now, how much did Carlos Hernandez help at all? Now, I saw that great piece you wrote about Carlos Hernandez and the bond that he has with Freddie Fermin. Can you just take our viewers through their relationship and their background together?
Yeah, I don't
Great
know if
story.
Carlos helped. I don't know if Carlos helped with like learning the pitching staff and learning what each guy does. But I think having
Mhm.
Carlos around helped. They're both from the same town, Guayana, in Venezuela. They're the only two catchers in Major League history to come from Guyana, which
Incredible.
is obviously a fun little twist of fate. Carlos Hernandez backstopped that '98 team that won the pennant, and obviously Freddy Fermin is trying to backstop the team that also wins a pennant and maybe goes a little bit farther. And so I think like it has to help. It has like come into a place and having someone having someone who grew up with your dad. Like Carlos Hernandez played Little League baseball with Freddie Fermin Sr. Um,
Incredible.
that helps. I just think the story was more cool from what it meant for Carlos Hernandez, who is, I mean, like he's not going to be in the Padres Hall of Fame, but he's a guy who was a very integral part of the 1998 Padres team and
Yes, he was.
is one of the best catchers in franchise history, and um, has called games on the Spanish radio broadcast as an analyst for years now. And it clearly meant just so much to him to be calling another catcher from Guyana behind the plate. It was one of my favorite interviews I've done all season, talking with him because of how he was emotional, he was happy, he was excited for what it meant for the Padres. He was excited to see a guy from his hometown playing catcher for the Padres, which of course is what he did. Just really, really fun stuff.
That's a great story. For those of you who didn't get a chance to read it, I think it happened over the weekend. That was AJ Cassavell on Padres.com writing about Freddy Fermin and just the relationship and the bond that he has with former Padres catcher, now turned Spanish language broadcaster, Carlos Hernandez. Really, really fun story to read. All right. I'm going to go back for a couple nights ago, and we'll see these guys this weekend against the Dodgers. We'll get there shortly. Dylan Cease. We had this conversation a couple weeks ago. You don't trade Dylan Cease because you need guys. If you want to go ahead and go deep in the playoffs, you need pitchers like Dylan Cease. How big was his outing this past Sunday? Was it Sunday?
Big. I mean, was it Sunday? Who knows? Who knows what day
It's
it
all
is
blending
anymore.
in together. Sorry, AJ.
It was big. Dylan Cease is, if Dylan Cease is like the dominant Dylan Cease, then all of a sudden, like I think you can make an argument that the rotation is the weakness of this team. Not that like, sorry, my iPad is kind
You're
of
great. No, go
glitching out here, but
keep adjusting. I'm going to go ahead and show Dylan Cease pictures while you figure it out your angle because you don't have the comfort of your hotel. I'll just find some pictures of you. I mean, of Dylan Cease. Here we go. Here's Dylan Cease with a no
I think we're
t-shirt.
good to go.
Are we good? Are you sure?
He's like Dylan Cease makes this rotation no longer a weakness. Not that it was a weakness, but no longer like all of a sudden this team is extremely complete because of the moves they made at the trade deadline. And if you trade Dylan Cease away, you risk the rotation turning into a weakness. Michael King, Nick Pivetta, Yu Darvish, obviously that's a pretty strong mix. But I don't know if I would say what I said about the Padres and that the fact that they should win the NL West if they had dealt Dylan Cease, because this roster is now extremely complete. And Dylan Cease is obviously has an ace caliber ceiling. And now you get in a short series. And one thing I'll say about Cease is like Cease can go 5 innings, 8 strikeouts in a playoff game.
Yeah.
And that would be that's all you could possibly ask for from him. Like what more, like then you turn the ball over to that bullpen. I mean, you're not asking Dylan Cease to go 7, 8 innings, which is obviously not what they were asking of him last season. But I forget what inning it was where Ohtani took him deep, but I think it was the 3rd time through. And maybe you only ask Dylan Cease for 4 2/3 dominant innings, and then you turn the ball over to Adrian Morejon. Like that's a pretty remarkable formula that the Padres have constructed for themselves in their starting rotation.
It was not lost to me. I know you were at your tournament, so you were not there this weekend versus the Red Sox, but like every single game was like 3+ hours. Mike Schultz is managing this pitching staff, managing these games like they are all playoff games. And in some sense, they kind of are. But with Michael King, short outing, I know he was disappointed. He wanted to go longer, and he will get his chance Friday, I believe, versus Clayton Kershaw. When you have Michael King coming back the way he is, right? Like, what if you're Mike Schultz, what do you need from your starters before you are able to go ahead and turn over to your bullpen? What does he want?
It depends on the schedule and where they are and maybe how what they got the last day from the starting pitcher and when their next off day is. Like Michael King on Friday.
Yeah.
You don't need much from him. They're going to have an off day Thursday. they're gonna. I mean, we'll see what the bullpen does on Wednesday, and if guys go 2 innings. But you can approach that game on Friday because who will be following King? I believe it'll be Cease. Is that right?
When I checked the what I saw on ESPN was King, Kershaw Friday, Cease, Snellzilla on Saturday, and then Darvish, Tyler Glasnow on Sunday. And so I'm already I'm already looking at the schedule. I'm like, this is going to be this game. This series is coming down to the bullpens. You can talk about the starting rotation and both the Padres and Dodgers getting guys back, right? And you can talk about the star power in the lineup. But to me, this series will be won on the strength of the respective bullpens, which to me favors the Padres.
It totally favors the Padres. And if that's the case, then they should feel good about where the series goes. I think the problem would be that that Michael King at this point maybe only has 3-4 innings in his next start. So if you're burning that bullpen on Friday, maybe you don't have as much on Saturday, and you need to rely on Dylan Cease going a little deeper, which kind of runs counter to what I just said.
Right.
So it's like I think it's such a fascinating thing with like how they can deploy their bullpen, because if they're losing by 2 runs in the 5th inning against the Dodgers, I don't think in the past they would have gone to Jason Adam or Jeremiah Estrada. Of course they wouldn't. Like, that's a game you're losing. Those guys only have so many innings in them. You stay away from them and you make sure you win the games that you know you're going to win. Now, if you're down by 2 runs in the 5th inning, you burn those guys, because you're only going to need to use, say, 4 of them. They're only going to have to go 1 inning apiece, and you can come back and win that game. And your offense is as deep as it is. I think it puts some pressure on the opponent to get that lead, and then in those innings where you're coming back, like as soon as the Padres tie a game up late, they're the favorite. They're favored to win that game because of what their bullpen is. So it's just been really fun to watch the way you can kind of mix and match and manage these games aggressively, because you have 5 different relief options as opposed to 4. Like, 4 is pretty incredible to have 4 dominant back end weapons like that. And I don't want to also David Morgan's been really good.
Yes, he has.
Others like Wandy Peralta's been good lately. Like those guys have done their part to make sure that they cover the innings so that those other 5 can do what they're doing. But having 5 is just, it's wild. It's really wild. Like you go 5 innings and then you give each guy an inning after that, and you've still rested one of those guys, have him fresh for the next day. Presumably a couple of those guys don't go too many innings. They're fresh for the next day. As long as you're getting 5, you're going to feel really good about your chances.
Last night I saw a missing player. His name is Gavin Sheets. Haven't seen Gavin Sheets in a while, but now he's not getting consistent time, which I know he spoke about after the trade deadline. He said all the right things. He understands that, he gets it. We'll let him bother him because he just wants to go ahead and win. What's the role for Gavin Sheets? What was his demeanor like yesterday after the game?
He was pumped. And I think it's like everything you want out of a guy that has been relegated. I think he can play more than he has been, frankly. But it may have just been a product of circumstances, or maybe wanting to get these new guys acclimated a little bit. And you also know that Gavin Sheets is he's a very clear team first player. He's been saying those kind of things all season. I think this is maybe the role the Padres envisioned for him when they signed him to that minor league deal in spring training. It was to play it sporadically and come off the bench and get a big hit and maybe start against certain right-handed pitching. So he is embracing that role too. I don't think I like his best seasons have come. His best seasons in Chicago came when the White Sox were good. Now he's playing well again and the Padres are good. He has spoken a lot. I think his quote is like, the only fun baseball is winning baseball. And that's whether you're playing or whether you're coming off the bench or whatever situation is. So he's the right guy for that job. And the fact that he's been the Padres' best hitter at times this season. In the first half, you could make an argument like he helped carry the team offensively when they were really struggling with the depth of the lineup. For him to be coming off the bench is just a testament to what the Padres did at the deadline, and I think what the strength of their offense is now.
Okay, I feel like the most polarizing player that we've discussed the entire season for various reasons has been Fernando Tatis Jr. I think 3 consecutive multi-hit games. Let me go ahead and temper the question cautiously. Is Fernando Tatis back?
I'm back would be what, like 1100 OPS MVP candidate? No, he's not that right now, but like an extremely good and valuable player. I think so. I think he's still like that catch. The catch he made down the line in the first inning yesterday, it was one that like you just kind of gloss over because I mean, it just stuck with me because he made it look so easy. It was that basket catch down by the foul line. He covered so much ground to get there. I'm honestly not sure another right fielder in baseball makes that play because the ground he covers and because of just the way the athleticism he can do to avoid the wall and make that basket catch. But it's not the type of play that where he robs a home run where everyone's talking about it the next day. It's just the type of thing he does in the outfield. So he's doing that. He's running the bases. He's stealing bags, and he has an 800 OPS. That's not what we have seen. That's not what we know Fernando Tatis Jr. is capable of. He clearly can be a little bit more than that offensively, but it's an extremely valuable player. I mean, he has been polarizing, sure, but look at in terms of value, the different metrics. He's either 1 or 2 on the Padres in WAR, depending on what you're looking at with him and Manny Machado, just because of what he brings defensively, because of what he brings on the base paths. Extremely useful winning player. I picked this up. I think you can ask questions about where he should be hitting in the lineup, but I don't know if if that means if you're not asking those questions because he's not having a good season. He is extremely valuable and useful for this team, whether he's in first or fourth or whatever he's doing because of all the things he brings on the field.
Yeah, and when I asked Mike Schulte that question on Friday, it was not, listen, Schulte, it wasn't because of the results of one game. It was about the body of work. It was about how he had played over the past 2 weeks. It was about the past month. And it was about the fact that Mike Schulte has in the past moved guys around, including his star players when they have struggled, including Tatis, including Merrill, including Manny. And when I'd asked him before, he said, yeah, we've considered it. And then he did it the next day. So anyways, I mean, I'm sleeping better since I asked that question, even though I should have had a better response. I brought this up with Darren yesterday.
I wasn't there. I was off getting ready for wiffle ball tournament, but I had the question while I was watching the game. I had the question, so thank you for asking it.
You're welcome. But you would have had a better answer. You would have had a better response. But anyways, I sat there and I asked the question on your behalf, just to give a stupid answer on my behalf. All right. What was my question for you? Okay. All right. I want to go to the Dodger series. Speaking of Darren Smith, he brought this up yesterday. Do you think, and I'm sure we'll get to more into Tatis and the Dodgers hitting him, especially if it happened again on Friday, since it happened that last time and there was almost a brawl. But do you think teams are intentionally going after Tatis to get in his head? Brush him off the plate. Hit him, go inside. No. Accidental. No. Just the Dodgers don't know how to pitch inside.
I think teams need to be a lot better at pitching inside, because when you pitch inside, you're risking guys' careers, you're risking their health. I think maybe there was a 2023 Tatis, the little uptick that he saw in hit by pitches after he came back from his suspension. I think there was something to that. I also think if you look at Tatis's zones in his swing, where do you pitch him? You have to pitch him up and in. That's he's not the only guy, but he does the most damage when he extends and gets out over the plate. And so the only way you beat him is to pitch him up and in that upper ninth of the plate, that upper little corner. That's what you should be doing. You need to be throwing strikes in there. When you pitch up there, you need to be sure you're not coming inside, or else stuff's going to happen. And that's what happened when the Padres played the Dodgers. I think you can look at the Lou Trevino hit by pitch. Maybe, I don't know. I went back and watched all these while I was kind of doing some prep, all the hit by pitches. I'm not sure which of them could have been intentional. I think at least, and this is just me speculating. I have no idea what anyone on the Padres or Dodgers thinks. I think Lou Trevino wasn't trying to hit Tatis and also wasn't upset that he did hit Tatis, if you know what I mean. I'm coming up and in, and if it gets him, it gets him. That's not the way. The Padres shouldn't take that. The Padres shouldn't allow other pitchers to come up and in and with willy-nilly without any kind of repercussion for that. And so I think that's why it unraveled the way it did, not because Lou Trevino said, I'm headhunting Tatis, but because he pitched kind of carelessly up and in on Tatis. And so then I think 7 hit by pitches later, the series ended. And I think, if you look at the way the series ended, I think it ended in a place that was this doesn't need to continue because it had kind of evened out. But then if you get to Dodger Stadium and the Dodgers come up and in on Tatis, as I am almost certain, they play 6 times in a week.
Yep.
The Dodgers are going to come up and in on Tatis at some point. So then what happens from there? I mean, I think it just comes down to, you named off the guys that are pitching for the Dodgers. Those guys have really good command. They should be able to pitch up and in. They should be able to come into that upper ninth of the strike zone where Tatis has historically, like that's been where you can get him out. And that without coming inside and endangering his wrist or his hand. So it's a long-winded answer. I don't think teams are trying to intimidate Tatis by coming in, but I think pitchers need to be a lot better about if they're going to throw inside. You can't let it run in and hit someone in the hand because that's a season changer.
Okay, I know. So 2 more games to go before we get to that series. I'm going to ask you one more question about what you're expecting this weekend. Tonight, Nestor Cortez makes his second start for the Padres, and then Nick Pivetta, who got rocked in his last outing. So we'll see how he responds. Again, Michael King, Clayton Kershaw Friday, Dylan Cease, Snellzilla on Saturday, Yu Darvish, who was excellent yesterday, and Tyler Glasnow on Sunday. All right, what are you expecting? 3+ hour games, every single one? Did the Dodgers light a candle per Manny Machado's request? What are you expecting this weekend?
Well, they must have, because Tatis is healthy and he's okay. So the candle was lit and they're good.
It worked.
I never know what to expect. I'm just expecting to be at the ballpark very late because these games always have something crazy happening, and they are long, but they're also full of storylines. It's kind of the one time a year where I don't like. Sometimes the storylines emerge throughout the day. Like these are where the games are what matters. The games are what I'm going to be writing about, not whatever transaction happened earlier in the day. These are just really fun, big games. I'll say, I don't know. The Dodgers, as at present, I think lead that season series 5-2, and so the Padres would need to win 5 of these games to get the tiebreaker, which they don't need to have the tiebreaker to win the division, but that's a thing that should be. I'm going to say that the tiebreaker will still be up. The Padres can take 2 of 3 this weekend based on those pitching matchups and the fact that they have the off day Thursday and can reset their bullpen. That should be the goal, winning the series, and I think it's extremely attainable.
I would agree. Last question. Any good beer? You're in the Bay Area. What did you find?
I have not had any beer in the Bay Area yet. I got here yesterday late. Had some good beer in New Jersey for my wiffle ball, for my family reunion / wiffle ball tournament. Maybe a couple too many throughout the day. We made it to the finals, lost in the finals, but I hit a walk-off home run in the semis. So that was a pretty cool moment. But that's not good enough. That's not good enough. We come here to win championships, and we didn't win one.
Thanks, Mike Schilt. Appreciate that. AJ Cassavell, you're the absolute best. I think I might see you on Friday. We'll see. 7:00 game, LA. Anything can happen, but I appreciate your time. I'm glad you got some time at your wiffle ball tournament. Congratulations on your walk-off. If I had known that, I would have started today's show shouting out your heroics. But
it's not about. We're here to win championships, Marty. Second place isn't good enough.
Okay, listen to me. If that lady starts up tonight at Oracle, I'm going to text you. I need you to go down and find her and interview her. I need a story on what's your problem. What's your deal? Let's go.
Then should that be my question? What is your problem? I don't even know what she was saying. So I'm not even. I just know that a lot of people were very unhappy with it.
It was really bad. I had hives. It was so bad. Thanks, AJ. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. I'll see you on Friday, and we'll look forward to reading your work.
Thanks, Marty. Hope to see you there.
Great. That was AJ Cassavell from Padres.com. You can follow him on Twitter at AJ Cassavell, at AJ Cassavell. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Marty Caswell. We are brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. This is going to be a fun week. Buckle up. Looking forward to talking more about Padres and Dodgers with Alden Gonzalez of ESPN on Thursday. Have a great week, and I will talk to you then. See ya.
We have an opportunity to do damage every single inning. It doesn't matter where we are in the lineup. So that's pretty exciting.
How happy you that the Padres did not trade Dylan Cease?
Oh man, so glad, so glad. I think all of us are very, very, very happy, except Gavin.
Except for Gavin.
I'm just kidding. But no, we're all happy, and he's a great guy overall. So it's just exciting to have him for still.
You don't ever lack for confidence, energy, or anything else. But how much did all these moves invigorate this entire clubhouse, including you?
Yeah, you definitely feel it. You walk in that day, and it was just like everybody wanted to meet each other. Everybody kind of got here early and just ready to get along and move forward. That's what we're doing.